Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're going way back, ancient Greece. We're talking about the Parthenon. You know, that incredible temple up on the Acropolis in Athens.
Yeah, the Parthenon, it's not just some pretty building. It's like a time capsule. Each stone, it's whispering stories about power and faith and all those cultural shifts that still kind of echo today?
It's more than just, like, aesthetically pleasing marble, right?
Hmm.
We've got all these sources, like eyewitness accounts from way back, archaeology digs, and even video games. If you see Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it actually gets a lot of the historical details right.
It does. It's pretty impressive. And speaking of details, I think people often miss the historical context. I mean, we're talking 5th century BC. Athens is buzzing, right? It's rebuilding. They just fought off the Persian Empire.
Fresh off a win in the Persian Wars, they were understandably feeling pretty good. So the Parthenon, way up high above the city, it was a statement.
Oh, absolutely. A big one. Showcase of wealth, ambition. They could have used anything, but they chose Pentelic marble, the best, quarried from Mount Pentelicus nearby.
Okay, so no expense spared.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about fancy materials. The design itself, the style it was sending a message to, right? That Doric order. For those who aren't architecture buffs, it's simple, sturdy, columns, fluted, unadorned capitals.
And get this, Doric was already kind of old-fashioned in the 5th century, so why use a style that's looking back?
Maybe saying, hey, we're not just powerful, we're connected to this long and glorious tradition, legitimizes their authority out there on the world stage.
Insightful. And then there's those optical illusions built right in. The curves, angles, we see them as perfectly straight lines.
Those always get me. The bulge in the columns, the lean. It's like they knew how our eyes work centuries before the science.
Exactly. The architects, Ictinos and Callicrates, the masters, they knew those subtle adjustments would make it harmonious, balanced, just visually powerful.
Incredible. Yeah. But we can't forget, it's not just Athenian pride. It was a temple, right? To Athena, goddess of, well, wisdom, war, strategic thinking.
And that choice, Athena as patron,
Oh.
very telling. She embodies so much of what Athens wanted: intelligence, military might, that shrewd, calculating mind.
Not some lovesick goddess. She's a powerhouse. Springs fully formed from Zeus's head, ready for action.
And that birth scene, plus all those other tales, gods, heroes, they're in the sculptures, the friezes, all over the Parthenon. Not random decorations, but narratives, each one with a message about Athenian values, what they wanted to be.
Epic battles, mythical creatures, Trojan War stuff, maybe even slices of Athenian life, huh?
Yeah.
Like they're creating a visual encyclopedia.
And if we look through the lens of, like, Athenian propaganda, you see it's celebrating victories, triumph of civilization, maybe even downplaying the Persians just a bit.
It's amazing how each detail, the marble, the stories carved in, all loaded with meaning. But what was it like to be there on the Acropolis? Who hung out at the Parthenon? Just the elite? Or did regular people get to experience it too?
Oh, it was a hub of activity, the Acropolis, the Parthenon right there, the crown jewel. Imagine it. Priests, priestesses doing their rituals, guards, protecting the treasury. It was inside. And citizens, they'd gather for processions, festivals, like the Panathenea.
I can picture it. The music, the incense, the crowds. Speaking of crowds, I found this funny story. It shows how important the Parthenon was to Athenians. It's from a comedy.
Are you talking about Lysistrata by Aristophanes?
Yep. The Athenian women, they're tired of war, right? The Peloponnesian War just dragging on. So they protest, a sex strike. And guess where they set up camp? The Acropolis, holding the treasury hostage till the men make peace.
It's funny, sure, but it shows you the Parthenon was woven into their lives. Sacred space, political symbol, stage for the serious and the silly.
Right, not just some monument off limits, but, Athens in golden age. It couldn't last. And that war with Sparta, it changed things.
It did, a turning point, decades of fighting. The Parthenon survived, though, a new chapter for it, though. A bit turbulent, you could say.
Athens lost the war, but the Parthenon was still there, right? Not destroyed or anything.
Right. Pretty amazing, actually. Cities, monuments, they were often targets back then. But the Parthenon did change hands, let's say, and went through some, well, interesting transformations as power shifted around.
So after Athens loses its top spot, what happens? Give us the highlights.
Well, the Hellenistic period, Alexander the Great's on the scene, conquering everything. Athens, like a lot of places, became a pawn in these power games. Kings, warlords, all that.
So the Parthenon, from symbol of Athenian power to
Yeah.
a prize to be won.
Exactly. And one guy who wanted it, Demetrius Poliorcetes, the besieger. And guess what? He actually lived in the Parthenon.
Wait, a warlord in a sacred temple. That's
Yeah.
got to be like the ultimate disrespect.
Oh, well, it was a different time, right? And
Yeah.
Demetrius, bit of a playboy, not known for piety. Can you imagine this?
The elite must have been fuming. But trying to be diplomatic, how long did this last? And did the Parthenon, like, ever go back to being a temple for Athena?
Demetrius didn't stay long, thankfully, but the pure Athenian temple days were over. A new power was coming up, changed the whole Mediterranean. And the Parthenon's fate. Rome.
Ah, the Romans. Not subtle about taking what they wanted. What they do with the Parthenon, just loot it and move on.
They took some treasures, yeah, that was their style. But the Parthenon itself, mostly intact, structurally anyway, but its purpose, that changed big time. Centuries later, Christianity is on the rise.
Right, the old gods fading away. So what did they do with the temple to Athena? They didn't just leave it there, a pagan shrine in a Christian city?
You'd think so, right? But they repurposed it. It became a church dedicated to the Virgin Mary.
Wow, didn't see that coming. It's almost poetic, though. One powerful female figure to another. Totally different ideals, but both, inspiring devotion, reverence. But I'm guessing the church phase didn't last forever.
You're right again. History keeps moving. The Ottomans came along, and the Parthenon, well, it became a mosque this time.
So we've got temple, warlord's crash pad, church, now mosque. Adapting with the times, huh? Religion, politics. Did it stay a mosque peacefully after that? Or was there more drama?
More drama, unfortunately. 17th century, the Venetians were besieging Athens.
Uh-oh, I feel like this isn't going to end well. What happened?
Well, the Ottomans were in charge of Athens then, and not the best idea, but they were storing gunpowder inside the Parthenon.
Oh, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It was! Venetians bombarding the Acropolis. One stray shell hits the Parthenon. Well, let's just say it didn't go well.
Total Michael Bay explosion, right? So that's it then. The Parthenon, now it's the ruins we see today.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the state it's been in ever since. We can't talk about all this without mentioning, of course, the Elgin marbles.
Oh yeah, that controversy. It never goes away. What's the deal with those again?
Early 1800s. British guy, Lord Elgin, he takes a bunch of sculptures from the Parthenon, ships them off to England. They're in the British Museum now. And the debate rages on. Who owns them? Should they go back to Greece?
Tough one. Some folks might think it's just some old rocks. But the Parthenon, even in ruins, it's more than that, right?
Absolutely. Symbol of classical Greece, genius architecture, legacy of a whole culture that still fascinates us, World Heritage Site, UNESCO. People come from everywhere just to see it.
It's mind-blowing. It's been there for over 2,500 years. Empires rising and falling, religions changing, wars all around it, and it's still there. To me, it shows how ingenious, how resilient humans are.
And the story's not finished. The Elgin marbles, the restoration work, even how the Parthenon inspires architecture today, it still has power,
We've covered a lot from the start, symbol of Athens, powerful and innovative. Then the changes, church, mosque, history happening right there.
Yeah.
And then destruction, but a lasting legacy.
Myths, meanings built into it, the politics behind it, the debates, like with those marbles, it keeps the story going, still relevant.
What a journey. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing the Parthenon in a whole new light. Not just ancient stones, it's about us. Ingenuity, resilience, and how we're drawn to the past.
Well said. And, that massive Athena statue inside the Parthenon, gold and ivory, it's gone, but what was it like? Do we know?
Oh yeah, it was destroyed, but tell us, what would we have seen if we could go back in time?
Picture this. You walk into the Parthenon, it's dim inside. And right there in the center, this massive statue, towering over 12 meters tall. It's Athena. She's got this flowing robe, the helmet's gleaming, shield at her side.
Whoa, that's taller than a double-decker bus?
Yeah.
But the materials, you said they were special. What was the big deal?
Ivory and gold, mostly. Think about it. Sculpting all those details in ivory, then covering it in gold must have been unbelievable to see.
Talk about extravagance. No wonder they needed that treasury, huh? But was there symbolism in it? Or was it just showing off, like, look how rich and artistic we are?
Oh, tons of symbolism. Every little thing had meaning, reinforcing Athena as a warrior, protector of Athens, like her shield. It had the battle between the Greeks and Amazons, and on her sandals, the fight against the giants.
The ultimate power symbol, a goddess made of gold and ivory, showing their military wins and their link to the divine. Impressive.
Yeah.
You mentioned that pool of water inside. Was that just for looks, or was it, like, functional?
Both, actually. It was in front of the statue, reflected the light, made the whole space grander, but practical, too. Kept the humidity just right inside so the ivory wouldn't dry out, crack.
Art and engineering. What a shame it's gone. I'd love to have seen that.
Me too. It must have been awe-inspiring. But even though the statue's gone, the Parthenon, even as ruins, it still has this hold on us, doesn't it?
Totally. Those marble columns, the pieces of sculpture,
Yeah.
they make you think, about time passing, civilizations rising and falling, how creative, how ambitious humans are.
Yeah, it's humbling. We're just part of this huge story going back thousands of years. And the Parthenon's like this physical connection to it, the hopes, the struggles of people who came way before us.
I love that. Well, I think that wraps up our deep dive into the Parthenon. From the beginning, it was this shining symbol of Athens, powerful, innovative. Then it became a church, a mosque, history just swirling around it. And then that dramatic end. But the legacy, that's still here.
We saw those myths, the meanings built into it, the politics behind it all, and the debates like those Elgin marbles. The story keeps going. It's still part of our world.
This has been amazing. I don't know about you, but I have so much more respect for the Parthenon now. It's not just old rocks. It's about us. It's about human ingenuity, how we keep going,
Yeah.
and that fascination with the past.
Couldn't agree more. And to everyone listening, if this got you thinking, keep exploring. Ancient Greece, the myths, the history, the art, it all still affects us today. And maybe next time you see an old monument, really look at it. Listen to its story. What's it whispering to you? What echoes can you hear from the past?
That is a perfect thought to end on. Keep exploring, everyone. Keep asking questions, and keep diving deep with us. We'll be back soon with another deep dive, something new to spark your curiosity. Till then.